is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Tapped In Indy podcast. Once again, I am Nick McDaniel, and for week number 3, that's called a winning streak, as they say. Joined by Bryce Cannon, man. What's going on, buddy?
What is up? What is up? Yeah, nope, not the usual setting here, but making it work. So yeah, looking forward to this episode. Looking forward to the feedback from everybody. Should be a good episode with some exciting stuff to talk about.
Yeah, listen, man. We did it last week. We did the Ask Bryce Anything, and I was a little. We got a ton of questions, obviously. But here's what shocked me the most: they didn't stop. I was kind of surprised. I was like, "Hey, you guys saw the date was kind of like have them in by such and such time," and I guess you're just in such high demand. They just kept coming.
No, it's just one of those things. You don't believe everything you see on the internet. So that date, they don't believe it. Just keep sending them in.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing they should believe in, and that is everything you see on patreon.com/tapped out pod. Believe in that. Believe that. I'm telling you, patreon.com/tapped out pod. Obviously, look, the Georgia Wrestling Spotlight, it is exclusive. It is free. I love to throw those 4 letters in there, free, for the Georgia Wrestling Spotlight. Myron's been filling in while he's been out of town. We've been knocking those out. But of course, for $5, you get the all of the weekly episodes early. $10, you get the digital copies of the exclusive Tapped Out collectibles. And the $25 level, Bryce, this month you were part of that. You signed those. We signed them, and we're going to discuss where you signed those here in a minute. But those are different, aren't they, man? Like I think it's a cool feature, like to our listeners. And by the way, it was you and QT Marshall, who, again, we'll discuss a little bit in a minute, but a little bit different this past month.
Yeah, if you're not a part of that tier and not getting those, 8x10s, those posters, I mean, they're unique. They're not sold at gimmick tables. Even though I wish this one that I signed on Saturday was at the gimmick table, especially at Southern Honor. That's a hint right there, not a spoiler, but I mean, we collaborated on that design, and I mean, it was completely different from the first one that you sent to the final product, and I think we both loved that final product to the point that someone at the show who saw him was even like, "Well, I want one of those." And guess what? We told him to subscribe.
There you go. And look, it's not. I tried to tell her, I only print so many. That's what makes them really unique. I only print. Occasionally, I print like one extra so we can test the pins out on it before we actually do the signing to figure out what color's going to work the best. And every now and then, there's a kid that I know. He's got anyway. You get it. My wife's a school teacher. You do the math.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've taken care of some people here and there, but I mean literally, there's less than 10 of every one we've ever done made. I'll go ahead and
Yeah.
put that number on it.
Yeah, and if you're one of those, tag me on social media. Take a picture of it. Take a picture of the autograph. Take a picture of it, you with it, and tag me on social media. We'll give it a share. Make everyone jealous.
Yeah, like I said, I'm a big fan. I've still got, like I said, I still have the one because yours we didn't have to test. I printed one to test the pins on, and I forgot. I was like, well, we didn't even have to. The first one worked, and we were good. So,
Yeah.
but look, you did sign them at the Lariato show. Let's just go ahead and get into it. I know a lot of people want to know 2 things. Like, I get it. I understand. Let's get the bad out of the way. You're no longer the Lariato champion. QT Marshall picked up a very sneaky win, and he is your new Lariato Pro champion. But let's take the positive side for a second. You were in the ring with Matt Hardy and QT Marshall. Some people would say 2 pros, right?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely learned that firsthand with just the match that we had. Those 2 guys, not that it means anything coming from me, but those 2 they proved exactly why they're professionals, and those who know why. So, but yeah, I mean, it was just a great learning experience for me. Yeah, I didn't come out victorious, but the show, the atmosphere, the reaction from the crowd, um, man, like it couldn't have gotten any better. I mean, I'm still on a high from that show, and it was just unbelievable that I got the opportunity. But I worked my tail off to get there, so it's not unbelievable that I got the opportunity.
I mean, look, I get it. It's probably far from over. I'm sure there's, you got to get a shot
Yeah.
coming back, right? You're the former champ.
Uh,
You get a rematch,
dude,
right?
so QT got out of the building before, I was even out of the ring. So that just tells you enough of what you need to know there. So the fact that he didn't want to stay around and, even man to man, hey, dude, like, congrats on the victory, but why? Like, be a man, dude. But no, it's far from over. We've got a couple of dates lined up for Lariato, and I full on plan to, get that title back. So QT is about to see a side of me that not a lot of people get to see, but a lot of people enjoy watching.
And there, speaking of a lot of people watching, I mean, look, the other part of that equation of having you're in the ring with a Matt Hardy and a QT Marshall brings out a crowd. Like there was a massive crowd there. It's I was trying to think like when's the last show that we saw that I get it. People want to say like it was wrestling math at 800. Still, it was 800. Like we're going 800, right? It could have been 798, whatever. Uh, when's the
Yeah, I mean,
last time a
we
show
can
ran
pull
with that
the
number?
we can pull the curtain back a little bit. Yeah, it was wrestling math 800, but I think after the calculations, there were over 720 paid, and then when you have vendors and sponsors who were not wrestlers, none of the boys in the back, it equated to over 800. And I firsthand was there. I firsthand was in the ring looking around at the crowd that we had that night. I couldn't even see faces. That's how many people were there. It's not because they had the lights down or anything like that, because they turned the lights on at the end of the show. And there were just so many people there. It was one of those events where you don't see the same person twice. But yeah, I mean, a great experience. And uh, I mean, the last time I've been even near a crowd like that is at a Lariato show. That is why those shows stand out. It was when I wrestled Matt Cardona. We packed the place out. It wasn't nearly 800 like this past show, but I mean, this last show, I mean, it just had a big fight feel to it. It was the first TV taping for STGN 49. You had the massive main event. You had other great stars on the card, like the Good Brothers. You had Gallows Anderson. You had Bull Dempsey. You had Zicky Dice. We had a loaded card there for those people to see. And I mean, the people came out. I mean, we had someone drive, I want to say, like close to 20 hours to get there. So, yeah, I mean, Lariato is a force to be reckoned with now. But any promotion can do this. The promotion, the promoting for the event is all groundwork. And I was a part of that this time. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, and it's look, Myron was there and he was pointing out like the reaction that you got there. That's a lot of hard work. I always say those things don't typically come easy. But yeah, look, Dublin seems to be a hot wrestling town. It's a haul. We were at 3 hours, 3 hours plus to get there, but it was worth the drive. Um, and look, it's seeing Matt Hardy in person wrestle. Like, what would that normally cost you, right? That's the other thing.
Yeah, and to see Matt Hardy wrestle at the level he wrestled at too. He could have gone out there and gave us a bare minimum, I'm gonna take my pay and leave match, but he didn't. He worked. He took the bumps. He did the spots. And it was a lot of fun to be in there. And I've seen fan footage and things like that, and it looked like a lot of fun from their perspective, from like the crowd reaction and everything. So yeah, Matt Hardy, true professional. In the back, cool guy, um, great advice given, and just in the ring, phenomenal performer as well.
It probably had to be nice to get the pat on the back post match. I know you lost, like I said, you didn't
It
win, but you still.
that was not expected. He did not have to do that, especially because he put the show over and everything. And yeah, he was like, "Yeah, we get wrestlers like you." Shook my hand, gave me a hug, but before he got out there, you could tell he was fixing to get out of the ring, and then stopped and made sure to like say the kind words again to me. So it meant a lot. And in the back, I thanked him. I was like, "You didn't have to do all of that." And he goes, "Well, I meant every word." So that was pretty cool.
Well, man, that's a huge, massive show that we're talking about down in Lariato. Another massive show coming up here, July 25th. We're going to talk a little bit about Summer Stage. It's the one fall show that they're running at the Center Stage Theater. It's a mouthful. Summer Stage at Center Stage. I was like, dang. But I happened to go to the show last night. It's part of the issues with our recording schedule. As I went last night because
it wasn't my fault. I got a few messages about that. They were like, "Dude, what's going on? Why are you backing up the podcast?" And I was like, "It wasn't me."
Well, no, I was honest. I was like, look, between that and then some traveling, we had to make sure get things aligned and everything. I was like, hey, it's okay, But yeah, it's I took the brunt of it. It's like, hey, here's the thing. I felt like the Gateway to Glory Battle Royal that they had, like, warranted. Like, it was literally setting the main event for one of the biggest shows of the summer. Here's the argument. Somebody said, is it one of or is it the biggest show of the summer? It's the biggest gamble of the summer to run Center Stage, as an indie promotion. Literally think about it. NXT's running that building, like a couple weeks ahead of that. But
I mean, you've got WWE running that building. You had WCW run that building. You've got legends that have wrestled in that building. It is a huge opportunity. It is a huge deal, whether people want to try to underplay it or not. And I'm not just saying that because I'm trying to brother my way on that or anything. It is a huge deal for an independent promotion to take a risk. You don't see that often. You don't see independent shows wanting to stick their neck out there, especially for like somewhere like One Fall where it is predominantly like trainee guys, they're One Fall Academy guys. For that promotion to stick their neck out and give their students a platform like that to wrestle on. And it's honestly up to that roster as well to promote that. It can't just be the Facebook page that's promoting it. It's got to be the roster too, getting behind that promotion and packing that building out. And I mean, I am hoping that we just want success for that, because it is a big gamble, and I hope that they get the big reward for it.
And here's somebody asked me like, hey, why are you so pro this show? And I'm like, dude, how awesome would it be if this became like an annual show for them?
Right.
Like,
and it could.
It could. Yeah. And I think I got a good chance that it will.
I mean, look back in the day, WrestleMania was a huge gamble. And here we are going into, what is it, 43, 42? 42. It's everything starts with a gamble, and people are scared to take risks these days. And One Fall and their team have shown that they're not afraid to do that. And July 25th, it's either gonna be a phenomenal event with a packed house or a phenomenal event for a light house. And either way, the boys get to say, hey, we got to wrestle Center Stage, which is one of the coolest things out of it. So, but I've got full faith that that they're gonna have a packed house.
Yeah, and listen, it's so obviously went to the show. They had the big battle royal. Brady Booker was a surprise. Like, everybody thought he was still injured. He's back. He's number 18, 19. I lost track after a minute because it was so much chaos going on. He's your winner. He will main event that. I mean, he wins the opportunity to Summer Stage. And this is something that we discussed on the Spotlight, and I was like, I've got to ask Bryce this on Tapped In. Here's the crazy thing is we are over a month from this show. And I said, the pressure's on Drago at this point, because Brady Booker won a battle royal, the Gateway to Glory, that guarantees him a shot to face the champion at that show. Drago now has to keep that title for the next 5 weeks. Oh, and by the way, I don't know if you saw Friday, he's wrestling Cruel.
Yeah.
Like
you're saying, Brady has cemented his spot in that main event for Summer Stage. Is he going to face Drago, or is he going to face Cruel, or somebody else?
Yeah, there's a lot of. I always joke. There's 5 weeks. There's probably 10 shows between now and then.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I mean, you got 2 shows running on July 5th, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's out there or not. I don't know.
It doesn't matter. It's fine.
But you've got multiple events on the same day. Like you've got One Fall is one of those that there's a show happening near you, whether you like it or not. And that champion, as the face of the company, Drago, he has to be there. Whether he's defending the title or not, he cannot afford, to mess his opportunity for summer stage up. So we will see in these next 5 weeks of, does he have what it takes to prove that he should be main eventing that show as well? Because Brady's already done that. Brady beat, you said, 20 plus other guys.
19 other guys, yeah, out of it, because he
Okay.
was number 18 or whatever. And I'm like, it was a wild show. And they, kudos. Here's the other thing. I wanted to, you're putting one of all over. I am. They put 158, I believe, in that building that at one point we swore would only hold 125. There were no more seats. It was literally standing room on, literally, and they had to reconfigure the ring and the chairs because of the pre-sales, and so it was just a mass. And everybody, because here's the thing, I told somebody, I think Brady Booker's a star.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he is. I mean, I got the opportunity to see Brady Booker live in Jackson, Georgia for the Lariato show. And I mean, the dude is a stud. I mean, he's built for this sport. And what I mean by that is he's got the look, he's got the attitude, he's got the characteristics that you want in a superstar. Like we were talking about, he's the guy that you walk in a gas station and you just see the sheer size of the man and you're like, he does something.
Right.
What is it? I don't know, but he does something. And I think that he's going to be able to use that at summer stage and, prove exactly that he is a star.
Now, to be fair and balanced, as they say, Drago literally walked out at this show and said, "Who's next? Like, bring them on." Like, I'm like, he open challenged. It's anybody who walks out here, I'll take them on. And I'm like, that is not a guy who is playing it safe.
Yeah.
To keep, his,
Well, Drago has a point to prove. He's got to prove why he could potentially, currently is the one fall champion. He's got a point to prove of, hey, this is why I'm main eventing this show. This is why we are where we are at as a company, is because I'm their champion. I'm the man that they trust, and I'm the man that drew this house tonight. And I'm the man that's going to beat Brady Booker in the main event of summer stage at center stage. That's what he's trying to prove right now. And I mean, I think he's done a phenomenal job. And he's also another one of those that just look incredible. And he looks like a pro wrestler's pro wrestler.
Yeah, I would jokingly say he doesn't look like he's had a carb in like 2 years, kind of thing. Like, but yeah, so anyway, that's enough. One fall, like summer stage is coming. Get your tickets. It's on their social media pages. Specifically, if I say go to Facebook, just click on them because listen, they're gonna have MJF there doing a special separated, VIP. Meet and greet kind of photo op thing. They've got another meet and greet where you're going to have like Tony Schiavone, Harley Cameron, the Infantry, Jack Jameson, etc. Like a lot of other TV talents there to do the meet and greet as well. But again, I just hope it's super cool because there's a crop of talents that come out of the Nightmare Factory, the one that are trained and working these one fall shows that. I brought this up, and I think I wanted to ask you. This was another thing I wanted to ask you was. There are kids that have been super, and I don't like to say super loyal, but they've been dedicated and, working at one fall for the whole year. And this is kind of a reward to them for working at that promotion. There's going to be kids that are going to get to work center stage, and there are grown, like, contracted wrestlers out there that was like, I would have killed to work at center stage. And these kids are getting that opportunity just for what they do.
Yeah, I mean, these kids put in the work. Not saying that everybody else has it, but these kids it's a perfect example of wrestling, honestly. These kids are in the right place at the right time. And that's just this sport. However, these kids are being watched by the right people to get the right opportunities. And that's something that a lot of guys can learn. Are you putting yourself in front of the right people to get you the right opportunities? I'm gonna leave it at that.
Hey, listen, we had a whole show about that about a month ago about who you. Anyway, I'm not gonna go down that road. We're going to get to some of the questions, but real quick, a lot of people are familiar. We are in the rotation where we actually go over the current champions across the state. And, man, it is a pretty hefty list as you kind of go. You guys know that is why you want to be a member. That's what the show notes are for that Patreon level, because there's no way, I promise you, there's no way we can get through. I probably have 35 to 40 promotions champions listed here. We already discussed Drago. He is your one fall champion. If there's somebody that jumps out, this is the moment where I tell you, interrupt me and say, like, hey, this is a guy that I've watched from afar. I think he's really good. Like Action Wrestling's Tim Bosby. I went on a major, rant on the spotlight about him.
Look, so Tim Bosby, good Lord, man. He, I don't really want to go into too many insider terms here, but I got a chance to see Tim Bosby for the first time in action, working for Action at the Cherry Blossom Festival show that we did in Macon, Georgia. And I remember our locker room, we could open the blinds and see the ring. And so I happened to look out there during Tim's match, and I was just watching. I was like, dang, like, this dude has an intensity about him that is just like natural. It doesn't seem forced. And then I watched him. So watching wrestling, like, I always watch for intensity and things like that. And somebody who had some of the best intensity to me, and gosh, people are gonna be, oh, he's trying to get a job, was Triple H. Like, when that man would throw somebody to a turnbuckle as hard as he could, and they would just pounce off of the buckle and everything, he would send them with as much force as possible. And Tim Bosby did a spot that he threw the guy to the turnbuckle. We call it a hard buckle. And I mean, it was Triple H-esque, but almost better. And I was just like, holy crap. And when he got to the back, I told him that. But yeah, Tim Bosby is just one of those guys that, if you haven't seen him, please get IWTV, find him at a local show, go watch his stuff, because he is one of those guys that he's going to make it.
Yeah, he's got the background that it makes it just seem so easy. I mean, I know it's probably not, but he makes it look easy. Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment, their 11th anniversary show's coming up. Carly Bravo, he is the man there. Lev, obviously, is your junior heavyweight, and the Hierarchy are your tag champions. I don't think we don't have to go down the Carly Bravo fan fest, that we most of the time will and talk. Exactly, right? So, I mean, he's the best. If Carly Bravo counts, this is Nick's quote, if Carly Bravo counts, he's the best wrestler in Georgia right now, with all due respect.
If he doesn't count, then who's the best wrestler in Georgia?
The Bullpen, they get into the Bullpen Pro Wrestling, like Rob Adonis, Cody Wyndham, the Wonder Boys. Again, guys, let's jump down. Coastal Empire, that's near and dear to you, close to home for you. Hunter James, Hakeem Young, the Good Hand. Those are your champions there. Hunter James has got a lot of gold. He's on this list in multiple places, whether it's he's the top champion, the secondary champion. I mean, Hunter James is on your list. He's the new Liberty champion at Wrestle America. He's also the Southern Fried Classics champion. So, there's a lot of people starting to see that he's got gold kind of everywhere he goes. So,
yeah, Bryce Cannon, the Legacy champion over at Southern Honor. We didn't want to go with that.
We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Listen, guys. Again, I'm not going to go through all of them because I'm literally scrolling through here. Tip our caps. Kudos, Trevor Aon. He is he's the Kraken champion. He chased that title for damn near a year. We already discussed Lariato. We're not going to take the Band-Aid off of that wound right now. New Legacy Pro. Lev is your champion there. Another guy who holds multiple titles across the board. Phoenix, Sean Legacy. It's always a good move, right? When your secondary champion has been on NXT.
Right.
I mean, that's a good win. Naja at Platinum is the top guy there. Look, Premier, Stevie Ray Frost, Lev is he's champion there as well. Let me ask you guys, because for a long time, Exotic Youth, y'all were the team, like you were the team in Georgia, Exotic Youth everywhere. But Murder and Joe have they assumed that role since it's kind of been like you've broken off kind of more into singles career? I know you do got, but you're kind of focusing a little bit on that. Are they the team now?
Yeah, I mean, I think Murder and Joe, they, as I don't want to say Exotic Youth was falling off, but as we were kind of slowing down a little bit, Joe and Murder were there with that point to prove. So they were there picking up the slack. I mean, they took over at IWE and things like that, and filled our voids there and more. So yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say that because I mean, there for a minute the tag team scene was hot in Georgia, and I feel like it's kind of cooled down a little bit. I mean, you had All Star Special, you had Exotic Youth, you had the Hierarchy, you had several other tags. I mean, Top Team, you had like a lot of teams going at it, and now it's kind of like, who else is there other than the Hierarchy? I mean, I know we got the Wonder Boys and things like that, but there's no tag teams out there like really making a name for themselves that isn't already made. So I'd like to see some more of that. But yeah, so I think it's safe to say that Joe and Murder, not by default, but I think Joe and Murder are definitely in that position now.
Hey, while we're talking, just quick before I move to the next set of champions, I do want to ask, like, tag team is obviously is going to be near and dear to you because of your history or whatever. There was a question that we got sent in about, tag teams, just like, why has there just been a lack of, does everybody just want to be the guy by themselves? Is that what it is? I mean, and it's like, it just seems to be there's less teams. I had a long conversation with a team of
So
youngsters and said, I think that's where their money is. Like, I think there's a better future there.
yeah, we learned firsthand with Exotic Youth that the money is in tag team wrestling because guys don't want to be in tag teams because they don't want to share the spotlight. That's all it comes down to, is it's an ego trip. Guys don't want to put their ego aside and work with others to make each other great. And that was something that Exotic Youth did. I had this conversation on another podcast with Exotic Youth. There were three of us, and Pepper Bottom would get the crap end of the stick and called the third wheel or just the extra guy in Exotic Youth, and that he was riding our coattails. When in reality, Pepper Bottom, Zach, and myself all brought something to Exotic Youth that the others didn't. And so we all worked off of each other. There was no true leader. It was all three of us working as a unit to make each other better. And we did that. I feel like all of our game, all of our stocks all rose because of that. And so in return, we are able to separate and do our own things and be bigger stars, whether it be alone, whether it be together. For me, I've been able to explode on the scene. So, I think it comes down to ego. Guys just don't want to partner up and make money. They don't realize that the money is in tag team wrestling and not singles wrestlers. There are way more singles wrestlers out there than there are tag teams in Georgia right now. However, that doesn't mean just grab the guy next to you and say we're a tag team because you want to go make money. You got to have chemistry with these guys.
Yeah. And that's, like I said, there was a team that I saw. I said, hey, I think your money is a team. I've seen you guys work a few matches together, and they were like, oh, yeah, we've only wrestled like as a team like 5 times. And I'm like, there's your future. If I can see it in 5 matches, like, come on.
I'll give you an example of 2 guys, and I don't know if they're comfortable with me saying this or not, but here we are. Hakeem Young and J Alpha Miller. Those 2 together could be an unstoppable force in wrestling in Georgia and, the Southeast. But they're also phenomenal single stars already. But we had them, I believe, at one of our festival shows. We had them team up together, and I mean, they killed it. They look great together. Their chemistry's there, and I think they may tag other places. But yeah, like if they were to start a tag team, I think Murder and Joe would have some competition on their hands.
I think I just saw them on a poster somewhere. Were working as a team, and I thought, or it's Perfect. The next, might be like 12 gauge. I think they were working the show together there at the next one. So, Scrappy Championship Wrestling. I love the unique. They have weight classes. They actually have a heavyweight, middleweight, midweight, lightweight. Caleb Crocker's the midweight. Michael the Flying Fro Walker, lightweight champion there. I mean, I know you got a good history with him.
Yep. Great guy. I'm glad to see that he's got some gold around his waist. He deserves it.
Southern Fried, of course, the man there, Sal Renaro. Hunter James is your classic champion. Fro, again, there's the half of the tag team champions with Seth DeLay, and a women's champion, Kat Spencer. There's a question I want to ask you off air about women's championships.
Real quick, shout out to Kat Spencer. I don't know if you saw, she just competed in the bodybuilding competition, and wow, just seeing like her before and after pictures, and then like seeing her on that stage, like shining, and all the awards that she won, and I believe like she qualified nationally. So huge shout out to Kat Spencer. I know I've seen her in the Southern Fried locker room. I mean, eating the rice and the diet she was on, and so shout out to her because that's not easy. Going from eating whatever you want to just putting yourself to sometimes eating bare minimum of what your body can hold just to lean down. So shout out to her because she looked amazing, and congratulations on everything.
Yeah, you stole my thunder. I actually had a conversation last night with and I was going to say that was like kudos to her. I mean, it's I would say the wrestling world in general should be proud for her.
No, absolutely.
I mean, it's a great representation of the dedication that that people that are in wrestling can have. But I know there were lots of people there. There was somebody I was talking to last night was super proud. You can probably guess who that was. And so we had a long conversation about her and her accomplishments. So again, I'll second what you said and tip my cap. That was awesome to see. Southern Honor. We'll get there. I told you we would get there. Joe Black is the Southern Honor champion. Bryce Cannon is the Jake the Snake Legacy champion.
Hey, that's me.
The infantry of that's a. Let me ask you, top to bottom. That's a pretty impressive stack of champions at a promotion, I would think.
I mean, you want the best of the best as your champions, and I feel like Southern Honor right now has that.
It's and we try. It's hard to gauge that, but there are lots of times that's when I am gauging promotions, I will look at this list, and people think that I'm doing. Some people say, no, I don't think that's fair. I go, I think it's really fair to look at who you have your titles on. I think says a lot about your promotion. And if I can look at your champions list and I'm not impressed, but when I look at it and go,
if
four dudes that should be contracted.
Well, if I look at, appreciate that. Keep it up.
You like
keep
that?
But if I look at this goes with posters as well. If I look at your champion list and I'm like, who is that? Like, okay, he's your heavyweight champion. I have no idea who he is. What does that say about your company? And then it's like posters as well. This is a total different tangent, but it's like if you got guys that don't look like wrestlers or don't stand out, it's like I'm just scrolling and pass it on social media or walking by it on the street. If it's you do the old school way, you want to get yourself out there. You want to get champions you can be proud of. You want champions. As I was saying earlier with Drago, it's like the face of your company. What are they doing for you as a company? And if we don't know who your guy is, that says a lot about not only them, but you as a promotion as well. So
there's a whole conversation about when we look at posters. There's a great debate. I try to be devil's advocate. When somebody, a friend of mine will go like, I don't know who any of these people are. I'll go, listen, I literally say this. We try to watch as much wrestling, look at as many posters and go to what. So, but now that doesn't mean I know everybody.
Right. And that's the thing too, is it's like, I'm not sitting here saying everybody knows Bryce Cannon because they don't. There are people that I have to introduce myself to, and I am okay with that. I'm not a nationally known person. Like I understand that. I know my place, but in Georgia, in the Southeast, I am known. So for Southern Honor to use that and put me as one of the current pillars of the company, I would say, with a title around my waist, with company like Joe Black as the heavyweight champion, with the infantry as the tag team champions, is those are names that you can be proud of to lead your company into the next era of what you're trying to do. So don't know where I was going with that. I don't know.
No, I just always tell people I should know one person on your poster. If I don't know any, I'm slightly concerned. I should know one. That's all. Absolutely. I'm I said I've watched enough Georgia wrestling to know I should know one. That's all I'm asking. Viral Pro, they've got a big show coming up. Drew Hood's their champion. Billy Brash, the superstars, the incarnation that is Tommy Mars and Jimmy Wild. Shout out to Nikki 8, heel up. Women's champion there, Erica Demia. Viral wrestling. I made a comment today on the Georgia Spotlight. I'm going to ask you. Again, for the obvious reasons, we separate the two, so I don't think it's going to bias you out any. I asked the question today. I said, I think right now it's fair to say that Augusta is Viral's town.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. I think they're the ones that are going stronger than the rest in that area. They're the ones that when you think, okay, Augusta, it's no longer IWE right now. So for Viral to have that position, I think so. However, Phoenix, I wouldn't count them out either. I think that Phoenix is up there in the ranks. It's neck and neck for those two. I mean, Sean Legacy's one of their champions, correct, at Phoenix?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
He's you've got Savannah River Brewing. Yep.
Yeah, you've got a WWE ID guy that's a draw in itself for most, and Sean Legacy is loved in that area. So, yeah, I mean, I think they're neck to neck. I think the quality of the show, Viral, I think has them on that. Yeah. And I mean, like just production and atmosphere wise. So I would say they probably do have Augusta right now just because it's a better experience.
Last but not least, Wrestle America. These were, by the way, in alphabetical order. Because everybody always asks how they get that way.
I didn't realize that earlier when I jumped ahead.
Wrestle America champ KJ Impala, Liberty champion just this week. This past weekend, Hunter James captured that title from Parker Lee, and the tag team champions Dominic Stuckey and Desmond Chastain.
I'd like to hear about that because I did hear that it was like a fan decision or something with the Liberty Championship. So which you can watch the Georgia Spotlight, and I'm sure there's more on that. So
yeah, I'll actually tell you because it's a rules they have for that title. If for whatever reason that match goes to a draw, the fans decide who's the winner of the match and who's the champion. So the rules of that is don't ever let it go to the fan vote. Especially if you're certain, mannerisms, tactics, and things, you probably, if they don't like you, you probably want to get a win and not let it go to the fans. So, look, Parker Lee did not have his better half with him, Hyena Hera, and I'm sure that played a lot into it. So
he was clear-minded then, huh?
He was, yeah. He should have had her there. That should have been the problem. He wishes he had her there. That is, of course, look. The show notes are 6-7 pages long at that point with all the champions on there. That's again why you should be a member at Patreon. We got some time left, so we're going to try to get to some of these questions. So I'm going to rapid fire through as many of them as I can because I listen. tappedoutpod@gmail.com. If you guys send the questions, we try to get them in. Patreon members, I always say, hey, because a couple of these are Patreon members, and I made the mistake on one of the episodes. If you're a Patreon member and you message me a question, I promise I'll get it in. And so here we are trying to get a couple of them in. First and foremost, I don't know if we got time to get them all. So, Bryce, just real quick, Darius Valdosta wants to know, how do you decide what to wear to the ring each weekend? Do you plan fits in advance, or you just kind of go off the vibe and just kind of play it by ear?
I have limited tights that I wear right now, so it's a little easier for me to pick. When I was in trunks, I would take 3-4 pair with me and just decide before I go out what I'm feeling that day. If it's a championship match, I do typically try to go with like a gold or a white in my gear. Those who know, it's a little trade of the secret there. So yeah, it's really not that hard. The hardest part is figuring out what to wear there to the show, because you got to look like a star.
Get the suit. Pull the Cody, man. Just wear the suit all the time. It's like
not in this heat.
I was about to say not in Georgia. Yeah, not in the summertime specifically.
Wear the Pat McAfee WrestleMania suit.
No kidding. Ethan from Canton, Georgia. If the Frat Daddy gimmick had to go tomorrow, what's next?
What's next is the whatever's next for Bryce Cannon. The Frat Daddy is just a moniker. Bryce Cannon, what you see in the ring is me as a performer. I can lose the frat daddy gimmick and the paddle. I don't really need all of that anymore. I used to use and rely on the gimmick so heavy for what I do, but now I think I've got the momentum behind me and the repertoire behind me and the resume that speaks for itself, that lets people know like who Bryce Cannon is. So I could just go out there as Bryce Cannon and still get a reaction and still get the noise that and put on the show that I want to. Um, just the paddle and the frat daddy give me a little flair to throw out there. And I haven't ever really thought about it, but I'm sure I could come up with something. But I mean, let's be honest. If I had no gimmick at all, it would still be what you see today as Bryce Cannon.
Speaking of crowd noise, Savannah and Marietta wants to know what's your favorite chant a crowd's ever hit you with, even if it was meant to roast you.
Yeah. Um, that one happened recently with the MomoCon weekend. After the matches, the fans started chanting "Fix your hair, fix your hair." So got them wound up. You can see it on my social media. Fix the hair, and the place went nuts. And at Southern Honor, somebody tried to start it, and I just completely ignored them because I don't care about those people there. But yeah, that's probably my favorite one, just because it gets the crowd involved, and then like I had the fans calling QT a chooch. I had them call Matt Cardona a chooch. So 800 people calling QT Marshall a chooch was pretty fun too.
That it was. Leon from Rome, Georgia. Is there a move or a spot you flat out refuse to do, and why?
I don't think there's a particular spot. There definitely are spots that are called that I question, and I'd like to either see video of the person actually doing it or taking it. Because if it's something that you're going to do to me that you're not willing to take yourself, like it's questionable. Um, I don't think I would do anything with like barbed wire, glass, or fire right now, just because, to be honest, I mean, everybody knows on the indie scene, like you're not making millions. So it's like, it's not worth it at that point. Some shows don't even have doctors. So I'm not trying to kill myself out there and then not be able to get taken care of with the proper measures being taken. Not to say I wouldn't do that stuff, but it would have to be right time, right place, right person I'm in the ring with. Um, as far as like a particular spot, though, I can't think of one. It's just, do I feel safe doing that? What does the ring feel and look like? And what is a plan B if we get out there and, okay, this isn't working for me? Like, let's, pivot. So as
Well,
far as
hold on. I'm going to ask you there because that'll segue into the next question. You can finish that one, but I want you to
okay,
combine because somebody asked if have you ever had to change something in the middle of the match on the fly?
yeah,
So you
yeah,
can finish
one,
that and lead into that one. Sorry.
yeah. So I'll just go right into this one. So a perfect example of this one is actually the match of the year, Exotic Youth versus the Ugly Ducklings at IWE in the Duck House Brawl. So at literally first 5 minutes of the match, Zach hits White Mike with a trash can, splits Mike's head wide open. I mean, to where he was just, there was no way to continue. Like he was just gushing. So we did what was supposed to be a 6-man a 6-man tag match with 5 guys. And, of course, like with a main event match like that, you've called a lot of stuff that includes 6 guys. So we had to pivot, and it turned out being a phenomenal match. And Mike was back before the show ended. So he had went and got stitches or staples, and he was fine. But yeah, that was one of the big examples of happening to like pivot mid match to where the match ended up working out.
This one, not including us. I'll be fair on the next question. Trevor in Columbia, South Carolina. Long drive ahead. One podcast to ride with. What's your listen?
So I've got 2. I know you said 1, but it depends on the time lengths of them. So the number one go to on a long car ride is the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, just because they are normally close to 3 hours long. So it can either sometimes get me to a booking or to and from a booking. And they're just so interesting just because they sometimes will talk other things than figures. And it's just cool to get their insight on some of the things. And I've worked with all of those guys, so it's pretty cool to just listen on their insight. And then speaking of insight, I will listen to Chris Van Vliet in his interviews just because I find those Chris Van Vliet interviews super educational. There's always something to learn, whether he's interviewing a legend or somebody who is recently released or somebody on a current roster. They spit little nuggets of knowledge that I like to pick up and just try to use for future reference and things like that. So, and then if it's a Sunday, I listen to the master's class. So there's 3 for you.
There you go. I'm going to jump the next one. I think we kind of covered that last week a little bit when we did the underrated, when we did that list. So I'm going to pass that one up. Brian
Hakeem
in
Young is my answer.
There you go. Brian in Gainesville, what's the go-to Waffle House order?
I'm pretty boring when it comes to the Waffle House order. I do a Texas bacon chicken melt with onion, with bacon, with hash browns smothered and covered. And then if I'm feeling a little, fancy or out of pocket, I'll get a chocolate chip waffle and a Mr. Pibb.
Lindsay from Jasper, who gives the best real advice backstage in Georgia on the Georgia scene right now? Like, who's somebody you just love to sit and just listen to them talk?
There's actually a couple people. One of these guys, I think both of them actually, I mentioned at the Georgia Wrestling History Awards, Simon Sermon and Murder One, because they're both different perspectives. So that's pretty cool. So like for instance, like Simon is Murder's more real than Simon, I would say, or more blunt, I should say. But both of those guys have helped me tremendously throughout my career, and they're always people that I go to if I have a question or want to know, okay, did this suck or not? And Simon will tell you, like Simon was actually at the show Saturday, and we did a table spot, and Simon he even said, sorry to break kayfabe, Simon, he's gonna ream me for that, but he was like, the table spot was cool. And I was like, look at that.
Can I tell you, you want to pull the curtain back a little bit?
Absolutely, go for it.
He sat beside me and watched that match.
Nice.
Yeah, we sat there. We talked like we were watching it together. So that was a unique experience. If you talk about listening to the advice, but I got to sit there and listen to him like live, like react to it as it happened. So
that's awesome. Yeah, and I mean these were two guys that I watched growing up too, not to expose their age, but I mean. So it's pretty cool for me to be able to get advice from them too. Another one I would be stupid not to mention is Todd Sexton. Todd was the one who inspired me to lose weight and get in shape. And oddly enough, it happened in the legendary Anarchy Arena whenever we had the conversation. And I mean, he didn't come to me and call me a fat POS or anything like that. He just told me straight up, like, if you want to make it in this business and you're going to rely on wearing 2 polos throughout an entire match, like it's not going to work for you. And so like, the conversation was longer than that, but those stuck with me, and I will always have appreciation for that conversation because it has gotten me to a point where I am outside of the ring comfortable with my body and going to like a pool and having my shirt off and things like that. Like it's that conversation right there made me a confident person. So shout out to Todd Sexton, Murder One, and Simon Sermon.
All 3 good choices for sure. We're going to end on a fun one. I saved this intentionally for last. Dominic from LaGrange said, worst road story so far? Was it like late booking, car trouble, shady promoter? Give us the dirt. I literally read his email, and I wanted it. That's not me saying it. That's him saying it.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I've got 2, one shorter than the other. So I'll start with the first one. So the worst for me was heading back from an IWE booking in Augusta. I live in Middle Georgia, so it's roughly about a 3-hour drive, depending on what way you go. And so I the match we had was Exotic Youth versus Buff and Fluff, and we did a spot where the referee took one of my paddles, and I just so happened to have two of them. So Peps pulls a second one out from under the ring, slides it to me. I hit Sean Legacy in the head with it, and somehow in the transition of me hitting Sean with the paddle, because it was like a flying like paddle, it wasn't just a straight over the head shot. Um, I don't know what clipped me, but like something hit my nose, and my nose just started bleeding. So I was dealing with that, and I was like, okay, whatever. Well, then on the way home, my tire blows out like 5 minutes down from the venue. And so I had to pull into a sketchy parking lot, uh, put a spare on, and then drive 20 miles an hour back home. So what was a 3 hour drive turned into a 6 hour drive because it took me all back roads. So, that was just a miserable experience, but a fun one now that I think about it. Um, and then like it was a good memory. So Exotic Youth, we had a show named after us, Youth Gone Wild. It was in a different state, and I don't think it was Mississippi. I forget where it
Texas,
was.
right?
No, it wasn't Texas. It was drivable because we got a van and we loaded. It was me, Zach, Peps, and Jordan Kingsley. And we got a van for some reason, and we drove there. It may have been Mississippi, um, and so I don't think any of us had ever worked there, and it was probably like a 10-hour drive or something like that. Well, if you don't know a Zach Mosley, if you're riding with Zach Mosley, you can expect to stop every 5 exits at a gas station for something. So a 10-hour drive took probably 12 after pit stops and whatnot. And so we literally got to the show at bell time. The first match was going on, and one of us was in the first match. I forgot. I think it was Kingsley. So he had to get out of the car, change, and go straight to his match. And then I was in the main event, and then we had to just turn. We didn't stay at a hotel. We just turned around and went right back. So that one was fun, but a test.
So it's Zach's fault.
No, not at all. It was all of our fault. But Zach likes going to gas stations.
I have one of those. I call that a wife. But anyway, well, man, hey, we caught up all the questions, man. Listen, I've had a blast having you on. We got you for one more week. We got to come up with something. Next week, though, if everybody's familiar with the rotation, how it goes, I think it's probably going to be your most challenging category. It's the Power Five. You got to pick the five. I believe that's where we are, right? I think so. Yeah, that sounds right. But anywhere you're going to be this weekend? I know you got a few things probably this weekend, right?
So one show this weekend, but it'll take up my whole weekend. Coastal Wrestling Federation in Milton, Florida. I'll be down there for the first time in I believe 3-4 years. So looking forward to that. Great promotion, great crowd that comes there. And I'll be taking on Justin Flo. Dude's got a hair not as good as mine, but it's a mohawk. He spikes it up and everything. So that should be a fun. Looking forward to that one.
See, guys, we don't talk about just Georgia. We also talk about Florida, amongst many other things. Because, I don't know if you're aware, Bryce, but on the the patreon.com/tapped out pod, there's a link that I share. It's Phil Stamper probably puts absolutely one of the most comprehensive lists I've ever seen of the national wrestling, indie wrestling scene, with all of the posts and the links to their social media pages. Lots of times it's really, really cool. That's free. I don't even charge for that. That's like, hey, why? If he's going to do all the work, absolutely want to give him credit for that. Patreon.com/tapped-out-pod, plus every bonus we've ever mentioned. I talked about them at the top of the show, but look, I know our fans are YouTube watchers. Do us a favor, subscribe to the page, turn that little bell, man, click on that, turn your notifications on, because we love it when we see the numbers go fast, like right when the shows come out and they're off to the races. That means what have you thought? Like, what has been your feedback just from being on so far? This is your third week, I mean.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love it. It's easy. I mean, and peel the curtain back. I mean, you guys have a Word document with everything, all the notes and everything. Like, it's crazy how professional these guys are. They're not just some startup podcast with two guys who just like to talk wrestling. It's a business to them, very professional. And I mean, I've had a blast. I kind of almost hate that next week's my last one.
Well, look, I've teased it out there. I've talked to a couple of guys and said, hey, look, what about maybe this becomes kind of a rotational thing where once a month or so, I bring somebody in and, just get into the rotation. I think like give it, I want to give it maybe, and I'm not trying to steal their format, but that's what we do, right? The busted open model. I think, having a
Yeah,
wrestler, having somebody who's got, a promoter, a booker, whatever, in the mix every now and then to kind of share their thoughts and opinions. So it's not just two fans, just talking.
absolutely. I mean, I think it's a good dynamic because you get somebody who's actually got insight to what they're talking about. Not that you guys don't, but it's like somebody who could be in the locker room when something happened, or like a big name. I mean, like for instance, like say you guys were covering this past weekend. I mean, you could have said, yeah, I was at the show, yada yada yada, but I was in that main event, so it kind of brought a different dynamic. So I think that's cool for you guys to have on your show, and it gives the audience a pretty cool perspective as well.
I Listen, no argument there. That's kind of why we did the model. We figured we would try it out. But hey, try us out. We think the Tapped In's a good way to kind of keep up with the Georgia indie wrestling scene. Not to mention the Georgia Wrestling Spotlight. Tapped Out doing the national stuff, of course. But we always try to encourage you. Like if you're listening to this show, you're an indie fan. Don't just listen to us to try to support indie wrestling. Go out to it. Look, I try to make a post every week. I do my best to have it out every Thursday, listing everywhere that I can find in Georgia. If I don't list your promotion, share it with me. That's a start. Because I'm only following 40. I think we're up to 42 now promotions that I'm trying to track on a regular basis. I try to keep them up to date, but send us the information and then fill out the form. It's only saved on the top of our podcast Facebook page. You could click it, submit that thing, and I'll get it. It's not that difficult. I hope I tell people like I hope they see like I'm trying to make this easy. I don't know that I can make it much more easy.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to you want your show promoted or not. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah. But hey, that's from the promoter standpoint. From the fans' point, go out, buy a ticket, because here's one thing that's going to happen. Either one of two, you're going to look in the ring and you're going to see that guy, wrestling in the ring, or you're going to see me. I'll be walking around because have you ever noticed I never sit down? I always kind of walk around for the most part. Right. Everybody always goes, you don't ever sit. I try not to, but there was nowhere to walk at Lariato. That's why I sat down. I was like, there just really wasn't anywhere to walk. But if you look around while you got your ticket, buy a front row seat first. I always say there's nothing like sitting front row. But then as you look around, you might see these guys, this guy in the ring, whatever it is. And as our buddy on the show likes to say, maybe, just maybe, we'll see you at the matches.